And happy Christmas and thanks for joining me for today's devotion. Back in 2002, there was a research carried out around the world. Maybe one of the biggest research projects that's taken place in recent years. It talked to over 500,000 people and it asked them 50,000 different questions. These questions were actually jokes. The research that was carried out was to find what was the funniest joke in the world today. Now each of us have our favourite jokes, and certain jokes are certainly cultural and limited to certain areas. But they wanted to know what was the funniest joke in the world. And here is the answer. It was a joke that involved Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. Well, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, the story says, they were in London, and after all the smog that was there, they decided they needed to escape the city for a break in the country. So off they went on a camping trip. As they arrived in the country, they looked up underneath a starry sky, they enjoyed some food, then pitched their tent and went to sleep for the evening. Well, as they woke in the middle of the night, Sherlock woke Dr. Watson up and said, "Watson, look at the stars in the sky." And Watson looked up into the stars and he could see hundreds of thousands of stars. And as he was looking at them, Sherlock turned to him again and says, "Watson, what do these stars tell you?" And Dr. Watson stopped for a moment and he said, "Well, astronomically speaking, it tells me that there must be millions upon billions upon trillions of stars there in the sky." He said, "Meteorologically speaking, it shows me that tomorrow is going to be quite a nice day. Horoscopically speaking, it shows that we must be about 3-4 o'clock. Theologically speaking, it makes me really wonder whether we're alone here or whether there's more life out of space. Theologically speaking, it makes me think how big God is and how little we are." And he turns, stops for a moment, turns to Sherlock and says, "Sherlock, what do these stars tell you?" And Sherlock turns to Watson and says, "They just confirmed to me that you're an idiot who hasn't noticed somebody has stolen our tent." Let me tell you another true story of similar germs. There was a story in Portsmouth Dock just after the Second World War. And there was a worker leaving the dock with a wheelbarrow. Inside it was just all wood shavings and things from the dock. This military policeman stopped him and said, "What's going on here? What are you taking?" He said, "I'm not taking anything, it's just wood." And he stopped, searched the wheelbarrow, and indeed it was just rubbish inside. So he let him pass. Next night the same thing happened. Third night, and that police officer knew something was going on. But he couldn't find anything on the man. He just couldn't prove anything. Well, years and years later, the two men met in a pub, both retired at that point. The military policeman turned to him and he said, "Look, I'm retired now, but I must know, what were you up to in them docks? What were you up to with those wheelbarrows? What were you stealing?" The dock worker turned to him and said, "I was stealing the wheelbarrows." Again, he missed the obvious. One final story, maybe you've seen it, it was a video talking about bike safety, spotting motorbikes. And it started like this. There's two basketball teams, one playing in green, one playing in white. They said, "Okay, there's a challenge. I want you to count how many times the basketball team playing in white passed the ball to one another." So it would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as the ball was passed around the court. At the end, they would give 3 options. Okay, did they pass it 7 times, 9 times, 12 times? And as people at home answered correctly, they would feel so proud that they'd counted it. And that pride would quickly turn to embarrassment and shame as they replayed it again, showing that there was a man dressed up as a gorilla bouncing around in the background. See, people were so focused on counting the ball passes that they missed the gorilla. And the point was this: you miss what you're looking for. Think bike, think motorbikes. But so often as well in life, we are so busy with things, with life, especially over Christmas. We are so busy with Christmas, we miss the obvious. We miss the main thing. We miss what Christmas is all about. Well, in the Gospel of Matthew, in chapter 2, it starts with telling us that visitors from the east seen the star of the king and they went looking for him. You see, these were what people we call the wise men, the kings, the magi. And as they were there, they looked up into the heavens, they seen the star, and they went to find Jesus so that they could worship him. Now, I think it's very interesting about this story is that we only read about these group of men seeing the star, responding to it, and finding Jesus, they may go and worship him. Now, that star would have been in the sky. As you know, if we all went outside tonight and we had a clear sky, we could look up and we would all see them stars. But these were the only ones who took notice and responded to it. King Herod, he was in his temple with his scholars, with all his advisors, and yet they missed that new star in the sky. It was only when the wise men turned up at his palace, knocking the door, asking where the king is that he may worship him, that they knew anything about the star. Did they see it? Of course they saw it. But they didn't really notice it. They missed the obvious. What about the people who were in the temple? You know, the temple and the priests, they turned up every week, every day often, to do their sacrifices, to perform their religious acts. And yet, when that star appeared, they missed it. They missed that the king had been born, that Jesus had been born. Everybody missed it, but these men caught it. And how long was that star in the sky? Was that the instance? Well, we know from Eastern Orthodox tradition says that there were 12 days between the time they saw the star and their arrival to worship Jesus. That's why we have 12 days of Christmas and 12 days of gift giving, because the wise men brought their gifts 12 days later. But we also know from the book of Matthew that we read earlier that when the wise men turned up at Herod's palace, Herod said, when did the star first appear? Then he sent message to kill all the young boys under 2 years old. So it could have been there for up to 2 years before they actually arrived in Jerusalem and actually found Jesus. And this is another thing that's important because it was there for such a long time. People had plenty of opportunity to notice it, whether it been 12 days or 2 years, and yet they missed it. Now at this Christmas time, I'm sure you would have seen some Christmas movies. And the Christmas movies teach us this lesson over and over again. They tell us, you see the husband working hard and he's so busy with his work he forgets about his family. And the Christmas message is all not just about the gifts, it's about being with the ones that we love. But you know what the message of Christmas is so amazing? Is that God gave the one he loved, Jesus, as a gift to us because he loved us. Yeah, like God gave the one he loved as a gift for us because he loved us. We can't miss the main point of Christmas. It's not just about family and friends. It's not just about the Christmas tree. It's not just about the turkey on the thing. It's about God loved us so much he gave us Jesus that we may be in a relationship with him. Now, years ago, I had a terrible conversation with a man. He was distraught. He was weeping as he told me that his wife had run out on him, taking his kids away. And as we talked about the conversation, he started to open up. And he said, I can't believe that I missed it. Now, all the signs were there. We were growing more distant apart each year, but I missed it. I thought we were just having different hobbies, different interests, different things. I can't believe I missed all the signs. I've had a similar conversation with somebody as they've just been told they've been made redundant from work. They've been working in the same factory for 30 years. Then one day they turned up at work ready to work as normal. They were called into the office and told that the factory was closing and they were going to be made redundant. And they said, on reflection, I should have known. The signs were there. We were having less orders going in. We weren't people overtime was down. All the signs were there, but I missed it. Again, I've had this conversation with parents talking about their child has become an addict. And they said, I can't believe I missed it. You know, they weren't interested in the things that they were interested in before. They never seemed to have money, or things around the house started to go missing. I just thought that we misplaced them. I can't believe I missed it. What a terrible thing to miss something so obvious to us. But you know the terrible thing is that around the world, this Christmas weekend, churches are going to be filled with people who missed the main point. They're going to sing the Christmas carols. They're going to hear the scriptures being read. But they're going to miss the main thing. There's a verse in Romans that tells us that one day every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. Each one of us are going to have to give an account of ourselves before him. It's in Romans 14. And you know, the wise men, they seen the star. They went, found Jesus, fell down on their knees and worshipped him. They didn't miss the main thing. They responded to it. But unfortunately, many are going to miss it throughout their lives till they get to heaven and fall on their knees. And they are going to be there thinking, how did I possibly miss this? And maybe that's you today. Maybe you've been coming to church for years. Maybe you've been watching devotional videos online for years, but you're thinking, I missed the main point. Let's just finish with one more moment of encouragement. You know, our wise men, we know the star maybe appeared 12 days or 2 years before. But for me, if I take something here and throw it across the room, it takes a moment for that piece of paper to go from my hand to the room. And we know that's the same with light. So light from the sun travels to earth takes about 8 minutes for us to actually see it up since it's left the sun, the speed of light. Now the North Star, maybe one of the most famous stars we know of, takes between 235 years to 435 years for our light to come here. So think, that light possibly left there 400 years ago. That's hard enough for us to grasp with our minds. But what's amazing about that is now these wise men seen the star appear in the sky. But that star actually appeared many years, maybe 400 years, 500 years, maybe at creation before, for them to be able to see it that very night. Now I want to stop and think how amazing that is, because some people here tonight have never caught the main point of Christmas. But you know, from the beginning of creation, God arranged it that you will have the chance today. So don't miss the main point this Christmas. Everything has happened into your life by now. God's been planning that you may take notice of his Son. And you may bow down and worship Jesus this Christmas. But God bless you, and I hope you have a great Christmas day.